This. All right, we're recording. So, yeah, I find myself in a closet again. Already shot a podcast this morning in a closet. Aaron's on the treadmill right now, so that's why it's super loud out in the office space. Yeah, thank you, Jeff and Thomas, for hopping on today. And one of the topics of discussion, of course, across the globe is the coronavirus and how it's affecting the entire fucking world. And obviously for all of us, it's affecting us both macro level and micro level. And one of the things I want to discuss is like both of you, Jeff is in Boston and Thomas and I are in Austin, and we're more freelancer entrepreneur types. And then Jeff has a current role at a company called Smartsheet. So we're going to just kind of spitball round robin. What are some of the things that have been going on in our cities, and what are some of the things that we're struggling with and doing to kind of pass the time in the current moment, because we don't really know when this is going to end. So Jeff, I'll let you kick it off. Just introduce yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, how you got to Boston, anything you're passionate about, stuff like that.
All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Jeff McSweeny. I do work for a company called Smartsheet. I originally started my life in Burlington, New Jersey, which is where I met CJ. And it led me, through a series of events, from getting a new girlfriend to a new job to just starting in a new city. And it's led me to Boston, Massachusetts, like CJ mentioned. So I think...
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at University of Delaware, which is where CJ got banned from for life. So he's a pretty good influence otherwise.
Not for life, 2 years.
Oh yeah, man. And then it's also led me to meet, awesome people such as Thomas, who's on the line as well. Just throughout the entire course of everything, it's all about networking. So Delaware, I met a lot of new friends, which also I've been living with my roommate here in Boston with who was from University of Delaware. So it's been an amazing ride to figure out like how small this world can be. What was one of your other questions too, or did you want to pass it off to Thomas?
Just like, so how'd you end up going to Boston and like getting your current role and stuff like that?
So really the real reason why I ended up in Boston was because my girlfriend is from the New England area. So I basically wanted to try and beat her because she was going to be going to a Boston hospital at some point after her master's program. And I ended up just looking for any types of jobs that I could find in the area, happened to find a sales job, and then that led to another job such as now. So right now I'm in a role called customer success, and I've been doing really, really well there. It's a really fast growing company called Smartsheet, and the job has just entailed so much because it really hits home for me, only because it lets me dabble in so many different areas. So I get to talk about project management with a marketing team, or I get to talk about how does an HR company or an HR department deal with this COVID nonsense. It's not nonsense, it's real life, but I want to say, how are they all dealing with it in a way that we can help them from our company standpoint, from my role. So I get to hear a lot of different things, which is everything that I want to do, is learn more, meet new people, and just kind of keep thriving in my role.
Oh yeah. All right, Thomas.
I'm Thomas Garanzuay. I'm a photographer and video creator. How do I switch to me, or do you do that?
No, I see you, but what you're gonna see, like, either
okay.
Every time you start talking, it makes it go to your window.
People like, I'm not seeing that, so I'm just like assuming it's not doing that.
Do you see yourself at the top of the screen?
I do, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm just not smart. So I'm a photographer here in Austin. I've had a camera for about 3 years, but I'm full-time for about 2, give or take. This is not like an exact month, but there was just like a day where I was just like, I quit everything I'm doing. I quit, and I'm just going to focus on photography. I don't know what day that was, but it's been about 2 years, give or take. I've been in Austin for 5 years. Before that, I was in San Marcos. I went to Texas State University. And then obviously before that, I was home, which was San Antonio. So just working my way up I-35, essentially. So I don't know what else do you want to know?
No, that's good. So I just wanted to kick it off with you introducing yourself so people can hear a little bit more, whoever would be listening or watching this. The next thing I kind of just want to dig into is Jeff. So you're crushing it at your job, and obviously this started months and months ago outside of the US, but then starts coming into the United States. And when was the first, like when you're in Boston, when was the first kind of inclination that you're going to end up sitting at home and doing everything from home? Like kind of like, what was the reaction from your company, and how to run us through that scenario from the corporate aspect?
From the corporate aspect. So it was about 3 weeks ago when everything really started to escalate with just the overall news, the overall atmosphere. People are coming back. And I think that the real news that dropped for Boston in this area was that Biogen had, like 20 plus people that are coming over from China from their conference or just from an event. And they've all been tested and are now found positive of COVID-19. So when that really happened, pretty much our entire office was escalated, and we went through tiers. So Boston was one of the second offices to really go through the tier process and shoot all the way up, where we are all now having to.
What do you mean by tiers?
So by tiers, so my main headquarters is based out of Bellevue, Washington. So Washington is really where the virus hit first. And I'm not sure why, but Washington was the first one to go completely remote because they didn't want to risk anyone getting sick. So once that started happening, they started putting tiers to each office. So we have offices in Boston, we have offices in Edinburgh, we have offices in Australia. So all these offices then got a tiering process. So 1 just meant you're safe, 2 meant, there's an escalated risk, 3 is like, oh shit, you better really start thinking about this and not go through any type of business travel, eliminate trying to come into the office as much as possible. And then 4 is you have to go home. Don't even come to the office at all. So when we found out about Biogen, basically it escalated. We were all told to work from home, grab your belongings, or at least some of the belongings that you need for business essential work. And it was kind of lights out from there. We're all at home now. But that was about 3 weeks ago that it really, really started. And it was right when I got back from Florida, which I was like, oh, does that mean I have to quarantine myself? And so the answer was no, but I ended up going into the office just for one day just to grab like my monitor, and literally no one was there. It was like the office manager and some of the janitors who were like just watching the general floors. So it was crazy. It was like, it's a ghost town in Boston now. Businesses, restaurants, nothing that's essential or that's anything non-essential is basically gone. It's all takeout. It's all, basically all you can go to is the grocery store. Put it that way.
When's the last time you went to the grocery store?
I have to go this weekend, so I'm a little scared.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. So they had a tiered structure. That Aaron's company kind of had the same thing. They were doing like A, B, some type of thing. And then like literally within 2 days, it was just like everyone home. Just like
super quick. Yeah.
Everyone home. You're not doing, you can't go out and about. But yeah, Thomas, from kind of like the freelancer perspective, because obviously like you don't have anybody above you and telling you like, run us through like what you were up to and then kind of like what that felt like. Because from my end, it was really abrupt. Like I flew it back in from New York City. I was on a trip, and then it was like 2 days later, just my entire livelihood is flipped upside down. And one of the reasons we're on this call is because I'm trying to fill in some gaps with what I used to do. So run us through it on your end.
Yeah. Well, when you're a creator or freelancer of any sort, I think you just go through just ups and downs of busyness. So, I mean, luckily for me, December, January, and February were like super good financially, and just like the projects that I was doing were fun. And yeah, it was just good. I was good going into March. I didn't have anything for South by set up, unfortunately. So whenever they canceled that, I was like, well, I'm not losing anything, so it's okay. It kind of sucks that the event is canceled, but I mean, it's probably for the best, no big deal. So March was shaping up to be dead anyway, at least from my perspective. And there's always things that happen, regularly. It'll look like a month's dead, and I have the couple things that I have that are, regular, but it's not like enough to do much.
Yeah.
But, a month will look dead, and then things will pop up, and it'll be fine, generally speaking. But obviously like no one's working. So I think businesses so I do commercial photography and like video creation. It's not like fine art or anything like that or editorial. So I'm basically selling something and everything that I create. So I need businesses to be thriving so that they have a budget so that they can pay me to make creative shit to sell their shit, whatever it may be, right? So I think people are having trouble just trying to like keep their staff paid, and like everyone's going on furlough. So if they don't have a budget to pay their basic people, they don't have a budget to hire any kind of creative to like make any kind of content. So I think everyone who is like a commercial creator, unless I guess you're a product photographer, maybe some businesses are still doing okay and they have a budget for, product photography.
Yeah, if you're supplement and stuff like that, you can still.
Right. Or if even that's your specialty, like my buddy Steven, he's killing it with product photography lately. So I bet he's probably doing okay. But from my point of view, I shoot people, so no one's really looking to. And, I'm listening to other like photographers, other high level photographers, talk to each other on Instagram Live, and they're like, yeah, it's probably not very tasteful to be like marketing to brands and businesses right now because everything's so chaotic. It's kind of like you're not reading the room. It's like a little tasteless. So from my perspective, I'm not freaking out yet. Like I said, I had money and I'm okay right now. So I'm not freaking out yet. What I'm trying to do is just like focus on what I can help. And that's just like getting better at what I do, like from behind the scenes. Like I bought Creative Live, which is like a creative learning platform for the year. So I've been taking courses on there. I've been just like going balls deep, excuse the expression, on YouTube tutorials and like learning new things about just like things in Photoshop and color theory and skin retouching and just trying to like level up and still be as creative as I can. You guys know, or Jeff, you haven't met Amanda, that's my girlfriend. She's really good at just like being down for going along with different creative ideas I have. So we just shot the other day and I just,
those shots were awesome, by the way.
Yeah. I just posted some of like my favorite photos that I've created in the past year, just because I've been, kind of immersing myself in like a creative space and a learning space. So then I'm like getting inspired in different ways to go and try out, different things, different techniques that I'm learning. So the photos I just posted of her are like some of my favorite that I've ever taken. So, that's all I can really help right now. Luckily, I have money in the bank, so I'm like if it gets to June, July, and I still can't work, that's when things get testy.
Yeah, I think a lot of us the whole world is going to be, it's going to be interesting. And to piggyback off your point, like for me, like I'm good right now, but I have this office that was supposed to be utilized in April and May to like really launch some things when we have our team here in June and July. And it kind of hit like a ton of bricks one day, being like, oh man, no one's even going to be able to want to come here. And what can I do? And that's kind of like where I started thinking, because a lot of people are like, oh shit, we're limited now. And then I started thinking, well, how do I use what I have to grow my exponential skills? And because I'm a big believer, and obviously we all are, of continuous learning, and that you can utilize this time to hone in on what it is that you're weak at and how do you grow that. And one of the things that I'm not necessarily weak at, but I've never really had to focus on, is virtual meetings and leading virtual discussions. I've done podcasts and videos and YouTube and all that stuff, but I've never had to drive discussions through video conversation like this. So I started thinking like, this is actually the best time to, you brought up a good point of like watching other videographers connecting with each other. Like this is the best time to connect with people because they're at home, like their phones are on them. They're probably looking at their email because they got nothing else to do. So if you want to like get in contact with that videographer that you look up to, or in Jeff's case, you like to be a master of none and like to invest your time in different areas, reach out to, tweet Ramet Sethi, right? Like tweet at him, because right now he might be the one responding. So it's super cool. That's pretty much what I've been diving into is really like, how do I improve my podcast process? How do I connect more people digitally? Because that's really what I love to do. My next question would be for Jeff, like now that you're at home, do you notice anything about your life that you're going to take, like, say tomorrow the lights turn back on and we can do whatever we want again. Is there anything you're going to take away from this that you might change up your life and continue on this path that you're on right now? Because I know for myself that there's some things that I've noticed where when they turn the lights back on, I'm not necessarily going to go back to running around like I was. Like, I'm going to be a little bit more strategic like I am now. It's something that I've learned. But what about you in your seat?
All right, first off, I know how everyone's going to kind of stir crazy in their apartments and whatnot. I think I was built for this. Like, I love being home. Like, I'll play video games. I don't have to commute. I can wake up later, like throw on sweatpants. It's amazing, dude. I love this. So I'm like, I'll ease my way back in, but I definitely will be trying to work way more remote hours, or at least days, even if it's just like 2 days a week. And then I kind of come back a little bit more and more, or less and less. That'd be ideal. So that's the number one takeaway. Like, I can do all of my work. I feel like I'm even more, I think the hardest thing actually. So I'm way more productive, but I'm working longer hours in my opinion, because I can literally just jump right into my seat, start answering emails. Like, I'm 2 feet away from my bed right now. So it's kind of bad where I could still be going to work
You can
right
get
now.
sucked in that rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done like a few things to really stop from doing that, such as, walking out into the living room, grabbing some water, having to drink more, try to go outside for walks. The other fun thing is that I've taken up like online chess, just because, like, why not? And then I can play with other people and like connect that way too. So it's just a bunch of different weird things of trying to, one, turn off from work, and then like two, just finding other cool shit. Like Thomas was saying, I think that like really, I find that to be very true, is that there's so many other things you can learn now, right? With this time, I don't have to commute. So I'm not trying to hustle and bustle onto a subway or a train. And I have like 30 minutes instead of maybe walking. I can still walk, but I'll do like more podcasts or anything like that. So definitely a lot of changes that I think I'll try to be making in the future.
Hell yeah. What about you, Thomas?
I don't know if anything would change. I think that I'm just trying to capitalize on this downtime, because I feel like even as when things were normal, there was still so much about my own industry that, at least at a higher level, that there was so much I didn't know that I did know, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I've been just trying to like really clamp down on what photographers that are 10 levels ahead of me are doing. What is their process like? Like, what does a professional bid look like? So I just learned a new term like over the past couple of weeks called a treatment. It's like a thing that you send out that is like not a mood board, but it's like when you're in the running for a job, like say I'm one of 3 candidates to shoot for Nike, like I send a bid, and then I also send a treatment for like how I see the shoot going and different color schemes, sort of like a mood board in a way, but also with words describing how I see it going and the voice that I'm going to bring to the shoot. So I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, there's just so many things that I don't know that go on at a high level, that, cause I'm just, I'm still such a fucking infant in what I'm doing, So I'm just really trying to look at people who are like, again, 10, 20 steps ahead of me, whose work that I respect, and see what they're doing. And I've been interacting with them, not specific people, but just certain people that I'll find on Twitter whose work is great. And then I'll look into them and I'm like, oh shit, man. Like, they just did a campaign for Vogue Italia. Like, that's amazing. I'm going to follow this person. And then I've been interacting with them a little bit on Twitter. And, one of them was like, hey, like, put some work in the comments and I'll give you feedback, just make sure you ask something specific. So I got some constructive feedback on some photos that I posted on there. And it's just like, damn, okay, that was like thoughtful. And he like asked me questions about what my goals were and what was I, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just trying to like level up as much as I can, while also just being trapped in here too, and not being able to shoot as much as I'd like.
Yeah, I mean, the craziest thing is realizing that, like, I've noticed that I don't think we're going to be going back to like what life was like. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of massive changes in like healthcare, education, corporations. I just don't know who's going to adapt and who's not. And that's going to be the interesting thing. And for me, I I've noticed that one of the things that I'm going to do more of is I'm with you, Jeff, dude, spending time at home where like I really realized that I was way too much on the go and that was taking a toll on my health and like physically and mentally. And I didn't really realize how much I was drained. I'm sleeping so much better now. Whereas like a lot of other people might be sleeping less. I'm sleeping great because I don't find my mind as cluttered as it used to be of like having to run to this next thing or having to do this other thing. I'm like, I don't really have to do anything other than like help my clients that I have now, but I don't have meetings with like random people that I usually would have. So it's been enlightening to the fact where like in the future, I'm probably just not going to take those meetings anymore. I'm only going to do it virtually. I'm going to be like, hey, the first meeting like has to be Zoom or like in the comfort of my own home. Cause like I ain't leaving. I got this other stuff that I have to work on afterwards. But what has been the biggest struggle for you, Jeff? Have you noticed anything that is just like, oh, this is annoying. Like I'm looking forward to when I'm able to do this once we get back to normal life, whatever that is?
Not really. I mean, like, yeah, the commute will suck, but if the company realizes that, we've worked so well remote and they start to accept working remote more, that's a win. I'll take that all day. Outside of that, though, I think the craziest thing is how much I wanted to go to restaurants, like thinking outside of business. Like, I don't want to cook in all the time, even though I love saving money by cooking in. Like, I kind of want to go out, at least just go grab like a nice, I don't know, like a nice salmon dish or something somewhere else, not just from my fridge. And also the grocery store is a little weird. So I think like I'm thinking all outside of business, to be honest, with the changes being made. I've been blessed that I like the work that I do. So it hasn't been too terrible.
Dope. What about you, Thomas?
I think, so I'm like the opposite of you guys. I work from here. So from my apartment. So I try to structure my days when I'm busy to like, I have a schedule, especially when I know sometimes I'm working on like 2 or 3 projects at a time. And they have varying deadlines, so I prioritize them in that way. But I know that like my most productive time are between 10 and 2. That's when I'm like just knocking stuff out. So I have like the structure to my day where from 10 to 2, I'm like not here. I'm at Whole Foods. I'm at this coffee shop by me called Black Rock. I'm at Medici. I'm at like somewhere else where I can go and be in public. For some reason, I'm more productive in public. And I can just like totally focus on my work. So that's what I miss, is being able to get the hell out of here, dude. Like that's the hardest part of not being able to get out of here. It really, really sucks.
Bro, and what about the coffee? Like you're a coffee snob.
Yeah, I've been, well, luckily, what do you call it? Central Market has still got good coffee, so I've been buying that. But yeah, the hardest part is not being able to, well, one, not work. That sucks. But two, like when I do, maybe I'm working on a personal project, like I have to be in here. I can't just go to like a cool spot and work and be productive and come back and have lunch and then relax and watch a soccer game. That's another thing. That's probably the hardest part.
Oh, sports.
I can't watch soccer. I can't watch, the UFC or any sports not being around. Damn, dude.
There's thousands of old games you could watch and old fights, though.
I have been. And like some of my teams have been airing like old games on their website. So then they'll air it at on a Saturday morning here, like this time. So like this Saturday morning, one of my teams is like streaming an old game, like a classic game. So I'm gonna wake up at 9 and I'm gonna watch it like I would normally. So that's probably been the hardest part, not being able to leave, missing sports, definitely missing like going out and eating and like having fun with all of our friends, CJ, and yeah, that sucks. But
it's like really crazy to think about, like by the time I see everyone again, like when we're in a group, is going to be like 2 or 3 months. Like it's like in the retrospect is like that's a quarter of the year almost that you literally didn't really see that many people. And it really makes you reflect on like a cool thing is like who actually matters and is still showing up in your life. So I appreciate you guys hopping on this during this, because it's a Friday afternoon and I mean, there's not much else we could be doing right now, but Jeff, you could be playing chess. And Thomas could be watching old UFC fights. But let's flip this a little bit off of the negativity of COVID. It was good to hear your guys' like perspective on how everything's going on. But like, I want to know what you're excited about, like what you're working on and what potentially the summer has in store for you guys, and what you're looking forward to, even through all this.
You go ahead,
Jeff.
Thomas.
I think that I'm just learning a lot, and I think that, like I said, I applied a few things that I learned to like this last photo set that I just posted on Instagram, and like some of my favorite photos. So I'm really just looking forward to the overall goal of what I'm trying to work on right now is really finding, along with like learning the true business side of commercial photography and like video creation and work with brands and stuff like that. The other side of it is like finding my true voice and just as a creator and creating art and work that is uniquely me, that is, because the only way other brands are going to hire you in the future, let's just say other high-level brands later on down the line, is if you're doing stuff that no one else is doing and you have your own voice and people, it's very easily identifiable. So that I'm trying to learn to define that and why I love this particular image that I shot and not this particular image that I shot, and like, or these photos that are really inspiring, and these photos from another talented photographer that I think suck or I don't like them for some reason. So just like really learning what I like, what I don't like, and what I want to create, what my voice is. So I'm curious. I'm excited to see where this goes, because I think this time of isolation is a good time to really focus on that. And, if I can't go out and shoot, that's the other way you kind of like find yourself, is just going out and shooting as much as possible. So if I can't do that, I can at least like try new editing techniques on older photos, look back at my past work and realize why I think, certain things suck, and what maybe not everything sucks about those images. Maybe there's some things that are great that I actually like that I can, repeat. So just seeing where my mind goes creatively in the future, and how the level of my photography and the level of my video creation levels up from these, like, however many months of like isolation. So I'm excited to see like my work evolve, I guess.
1% better every day.
Yeah. That 1 degree separation.
Oh yeah. All right. So I think the other thing coming, I don't want to bring back COVID, but not being able to travel. I just want to travel a little bit more now in the summer. I think that's another big thing that's going to come to mind. Hopefully the air prices are still pretty low, airfare prices. So that would be great if they could, continue to be all-time low.
I got to reach out to Southwest. I got Companion Pass this year. Like, are you kidding me?
Of all years for this to happen.
Of all years, I get Companion Pass and can't even use it. So total sidebar, but that has me really, really, really sad.
Well, really grinds your gears.
That really grinds my gears. So maybe Southwest is a great company. So hopefully I reach out and they're like, yeah, we'll just extend it. Because I want them to just extend it the amount of months that we're in isolation. Like if they could just extend it into next year or something. So that way, like in January, February, March, I could take a trip or two for my birthday or something, and Aaron can go for free. That would be.
That's what you should lead with. Like, it'd be great for my birthday if you guys could extend this, because I was stuck in my closet for God knows how long.
I'm worried about my birthday. I turned 30 in May, and I wanted to do some stuff. I wanted to do something big, but like now, who knows? I don't even know.
Dude, Kev J. Burr's wedding is in May.
Yeah.
I was about to say, yeah, there's some weddings out there that are canceled.
Like, that is crazy. I saw one wedding where it was just the two of them, and they did it virtual, like a virtual wedding, and it like went viral, and just thousands of people reached out because they just went through with their wedding. And it's just like, damn, like, can you imagine, like, you're planning that is never on your horizon, like our wedding is going to get canceled because of a pandemic. Like,
no,
never ever would think about that. But sorry for cutting you off, Jeff. What,
no,
besides travel, what are you working towards or inspired by?
This summer, I mean, I'm always inspired by all the stuff that all you guys are doing, right? Like Thomas is being creative, trying to find the voice, of himself to separate, from other photographers and just other influencers and things like that. And then you're just doing all types of, I don't know what the hell you do sometimes. You're all over the place. And I love seeing that. So it makes me want to like, I should blog. I'll blog for a little bit. You know what? I should podcast. I'll podcast a little bit here and there. I'll dabble. And then now I'm learning chess. Who knows if I'll be a chess grandmaster, this summer, because I'll be stuck inside all day. So like whatever happens, I'm sure it'll just kind of be the same thing, or I'll get into something new because I'm still stuck inside. So maybe I'll jump into like video game Twitch or something like that.
So for those that don't know, Jeff used to win me money because I can't focus for shit. So like games like poker and games where you have to actually focus for a long extended period of time, I can't do. But he's kind of a guru at that. And so I'll just give him my money and take a little bit of a cut whenever. So that's what I kind of wanted to pitch to you was, why don't you get back into poker? Because we had some pretty good times back in the day when I was on the East Coast.
Going to AC and stuff.
you don't have me there to like pull you away though. That's the only issue.
That's literally the thing. When you're sitting here, you can just, oh my God, gamble away your life because you're nonstop. You won't stop.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Are you reading anything right now?
Right now, so I was reading a bunch of different books, and I was like, let me start 007 just so I like don't just go off on the deep end of just reading all these business books and then all this other hoopla of finance and whatnot. I'm like, let me do something like a little more enjoyable. But the other book that I was reading is The Lean Startup. So I just finished the personal MBA book. I thought that was great, to be honest. I loved how he used some of his analogies or just general stories of what marketing can do and value creation and starting a company or even just running the company off of financials. And then the Lean Startup is pretty cool because, in my opinion, it really shows you the fact that there's different ways to measure things of being successful. And a lot of people have it wrong, or they're just trying to do vanity metrics. So I thought that was pretty cool. Outside of that, those were the two books that really kind of caught my attention. And I want to read. I have so many books on my Kindle. It's unreal. I have like such a backlog. So any suggestions? I'll probably jump on for a little bit too. But what about you, Thomas?
I'm not, dude.
He's a podcast guy.
I'm so not a reader. Yeah. I mean, Audible. I've listened to a few Audible books. Probably my favorite book has been Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Me and CJ really love that book. But that was actually a book I told him about, which is weird. But
Jeff, you would like it.
True story.
I've already listened to it on Audible.
Yeah, Audible. It's great. It's fucking so great, man. It really speaks to like the way I think about everything, like just everything from like design to even like my photography to just like the way that I live my life in general. It just like spoke to my soul. So that's probably like my favorite book now.
You listen to any podcasts right now?
Right now, let me look. Actually, what have I been listening to? I've listened to Joe Rogan a lot. There's a podcast called Artificial Intelligence with Lex Friedman. That's a super interesting one if you want to talk about science, but if you want to talk about like some spooky futuristic science. I forget what his actual title is, but that's an interesting podcast. Or The Portal with Eric Weinstein, or the Chase Jarvis live show. That's a good one too.
Hell yeah. Well, to wrap this up, so we started this Mighty Network this week, and it was something that I was going to honestly start this summer when we had two of our interns, Ashani and Jake, rolling on. But because they got to kind of drop school because they're virtual now, we kind of like got them initiated a little bit sooner and started having the idea of, hey, let's just get this network up and running. But I kind of just did it the way that the Lean Startup model is, just get some MVP out there and then start testing and get feedback. And one of the things that I was looking for was you're two of my best friends. Like, how do you think we can cultivate something online that doesn't replace what's obviously in the real world, but provides enough value and connection for people to feel like, because from my end, I don't want to be just the person posting. I want people to feel like they can post things in there. They can ask questions. A good example of this is Whitney just posted something about how she's doing IGTV, and posting workouts, and she's gaining traction in that area. And I was like, damn, she could really post on YouTube and make it unlisted, and then make it an Excel sheet, and then like actually sell something, right? And make some money off of it and get some value back. And Ross has already done this. So I basically connected those two, even in those. And I want to see more of that, but it takes obviously the community like posting. So a couple of my ideas have been around like creating polls of who wants to hop on calls, who wants to lead like a workshop. Like maybe Thomas, you lead a workshop on like how to use Lightroom on your phone to make your Instagram posts a little bit better, right? And we just run through how to do that, like general everyday tips for people right now to get better, and just hacks. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think. And like, Jeff, we've built communities in the past where we were talking and we've had phone calls and stuff. So I want to take this a little bit to the next level where maybe it's a coast to coast thing and we get 100, 200, 300 people in here, and it's more interactive and valuable, as if it was like a conference type of feel. But would love any thoughts you guys have.
Is the question, how do you incentivize engagement? Like, is that the question?
Literally, like anything that comes to your mind on how to make this, because in my mind, if there's no engagement, this thing isn't gonna last, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you get people engaged? I know how to do that in real life. You get awesome people in a room, sparkling water, some chips, somebody there that's providing value that fills a need of most of the people's in the room's problem. But in a digital space, it's a little bit trickier. And there's so much noise out there right now. And it's like, I don't want to be that, hey, look at us, we're creating something, when there's so many other people creating. It's more about, hey, this is a tool you can use for your life to help you solve some of your problems. And here's some really cool people in different industries that can be valuable to you. So I guess, yes, that would be the question.
I think just having like, try to find like some common denominators between some of the groups of people that are already in it, and then have like these types of meetings on that common denominator, and those people that share that, in your eyes, would probably want to engage. You know what I mean? So if it's like a fitness thing, we'd probably all be interested in that, because we all kind of want to stay in shape. And if it's like someone who like that interest spans everything, someone who's trying to get in shape, someone who's already in shape to look for different perspectives, like that's a common denominator between a ton of people, right? So that's like one thing, and you just pick some subcategory of fitness and you can lead it and then get everybody's perspectives. Just, you know what I mean? It's really like people love talking about themselves, right? So if you can pick a theme where a group of people can all speak to the same thing about themselves, like all photographers, all fitness people, all whatever, like people like to talk about themselves. So if you can find those common denominators among the pool of people that you already have, then I think that'll incentivize some stuff. And then obviously the more and more you do it, I think consistency is always key. Like if you just keep doing it, at some point, someone's going to be like, what are these fucking things all about? Let me just see. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe they'll take a couple nuggets and want to join in the next one. So consistency, common denominators among your pool of active users now.
What about cadence? So like if it was like every Wednesday at this time.
I like that idea because it people will know to expect it, right? So they know like every Wednesday I'm going to get some sort of productive conversation with a group of like generally like-minded people. If they're just random, I think people will forget. But if you do it every Wednesday without fail, 100% for the next year, like that's going to become like an institution, especially when there's like not a lot going on for a lot of people, right? So like people are going to already want to try to be involved in something socially. So they're going to, especially if it's a topic that they connect with, they're just more and more incentivized to join the conversation.
Hell yeah.
That. It's almost like reverse engineering Reddit too. You know, like how Reddit started. You just have to have a few users that post a lot consistently, and then also that are engaging or kind of, I wouldn't say sporadic, but like they can go off in different directions so they can get everyone's interest. And then you just want to pull other people in
It's like a big win.
So yeah, exactly. That's what I think it comes down to. So you already have a lot of my interest, especially when it comes to, I like fitness, not as much as you guys, but I like the business aspect. I like that you're both, kind of freelancers in a sense, and you know how to run a business. You also added in, like, I think some of the interests that I just looked up, like books, nutrition, a lot of those fun things. I'll talk about that all day, as long as it's not like very structured or anything like that, or maybe I can kind of peel off with another group. So anything that's kind of fun like that is cool.
Ideally, what I'm looking for from people is like people to own a certain topic. So like if we have like photography and videography as one of them, like Thomas, like, can you just like, I'll work with you to produce something once a week of like, hey, can we get an article or a PDF or something that you found interesting for that topic? And then that way eventually like grows into a community of people that like that thing. And like Thomas doesn't have to create that. And then Jeff, maybe yours is like board games, whatever, right? It doesn't have to be anything specific. But finding people that will hit home in those different areas, because right now I literally just listed out like business, nutrition, fitness, whatever, just to kind of show people what it is. But in the future, I would really love it for it to be like people are just owning different topics. And then it spurs into, because somebody consistently own that, it's just running itself. That's how I think of it, as like you have Kindle Fire on you have Kindle wood on the fire, right? And then eventually you put on the bigger logs and they catch. Like that's really what I want to do, is like going into summer, hopefully this quarantine ends and this community turns more into one where people can connect actually in person as well, rather than just through digitally. And I want it to be valuable enough where anybody that comes into it, like when they meet that person, it's like, damn, like this person's legit in their little atmosphere of what they do. So I love your common denominator idea, Thomas. I think that's like the Kindle wood. Like how do I find this common denominator? And like, it's kind of showed in the first little question I asked. Like a lot of people are fired up about education and like how to educate. And like that spurred my brain on like, what could we talk about to actually take action on something with education and help each other with that. And I do think also the fitness one, I already talked to Patrick Lyons and like maybe doing like a how to track your macros thing, or like just like a live talk on that. And then also I've been seeing him dance. So it's just like, how do we, whatever he's doing to learn dance, how to like, I'll literally film myself trying to learn how to dance and then somebody else do the same thing and get that in there. But I'd also love to, like, Jeff, you're into investing and stuff like that. And reading up on that stuff and kind of I've been wanting to start a group of like a mastermind group on what is everyone investing their time into. It doesn't just have to be money. Like what courses, Thomas, are you taking on creatives, right? Like I'd love to gather that. And like, Jeff, what books are you reading? So I'm trying to figure out how to most efficiently like gather that information from people and like put it into some type of tangible form and then release it. Do you guys have any ideas other than like a Google Doc? Like, I don't know what other tangible thing would give access like in that world.
It's hard too, because you just talked about two topics that you wouldn't necessarily think that I'd be interested in, like education reform and I can't remember the second thing, but like I would be totally into both conversations. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily my specialty, but it's something that I'm interested in hearing other people's perspectives on. And I'm an opinionated person in general, so I have a perspective, you know what I mean? However informed or uninformed it might be, I always have something. Even if it's, I don't know, right? But,
yeah.
It's kind of like where your friends go too, right?
Yeah.
It's where your friends go, like CJ, us,
Sure.
we're all, your friends. So you're like, I have a say in that, or I would have a say in that.
Yeah, well, education specifically, I mean, I didn't find my path until I was 27. Like, I think that's partly because of the way that our education system is structured, and we're making worker bees. We're not making like, we're not teaching people how they're individually creative, where they're creative in like photography, or they're creative in metalwork, or they're creative in business. And they have like unique perspectives in the way that their mind works. And you know what I'm saying? Like people aren't able to like find themselves in the years that they're supposed to be trying to find themselves between the ages of, when you're like a junior in high school or so until when you're, in college. It's just not set up that way. So it took me longer than probably most people, and shorter than some other people too, because I think some people wake up at 45 and don't know who they're sleeping next to and like why they're doing what they're doing, So I'm lucky and unlucky, and depending on your perspective. But it took me to 27 to find my path, or even start to really find my path. So education is something that I'd totally be interested in hearing people's thoughts on. So I think just putting it out there, and then almost like, so I do think, Jeff, you know him a little bit, but see like the way Nick kind of approaches whenever he gets people together. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is the time we're doing it. Everyone who wants to come. If you don't want to come, fine. Like, it's okay. But I think there's something to be said too about like talking about the things that are important to us, and then just letting people come or not come, and then getting feedback for the people who are already there. And you know what I mean? And just let it organically, and then just work like trial by error.
What if I broke it down into like, so I'm always thinking like execution. So like what I would do is do a poll, and it's like, hey, we have these topics. First, rank the topic weight that you'd like to learn about, like fitness, education, photography, whatever, right? Those get weighted. And then the next question I would have is like, who wants to speak and educate on these topics? And then I can basically take that approach of like, hey, this person's leading this at this time, come or don't come type of thing.
It's going to take time, and you setting the precedent to like making.
Well, I'm thinking
right later down the road.
Yeah.
I think for now it's going to take you just wanting to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and then you in your own mind finding common denominators and be like, you know what, a lot of people are in this general space or in this general theme. Like, let's talk about like the subset of this theme, and they'll probably, you know what I mean? So in your own mind, do that. But I think like once people feel like, okay, this is legit, whatever that is in their own mind, then they're going to want to be like, you know what, I have this idea about this topic that we've talked about before. And like, I would love to lead a talk about this different perspective or whatever. Right. So it's just going to take time. But I think like you setting the precedent of like, these are the kinds of things that we talk about, and they're more in depth than just like whatever. That's going to spark like inspiration in other people who choose to participate in whatever conversations.
Cool. Jeff, any last thoughts on that?
No, I agree. Anytime that all right, so since we tried this already, right, it does come down to just getting a bunch of people to, 1, add their friends, 2, find something that you all want to talk about or that's semi interesting, relevant to everybody. 3, I think the top thing for me to get involved is if, I'm different from everybody too, and I realize this, but if you were to ask me to come on this podcast or this kind of recording, I'm all for it. So I think like others would either, it's kind of like a peer pressure mentality, or it's like, oh, that's my friend. Like, of course I would do that. I tried something new. Maybe I'll like it, and maybe I'd want to do it again. And now I'll find another topic that I want to talk about. And I would love to like be the leader in that space for this mighty network. So if you can just find what people really want to talk about all the time and just say like, just do it here too. Like, I don't find that would be at all a big ask if you love talking about it. So, kind of going off of that, it's just, dude, just have fun. We'll see where it goes. If you have a direction though that you want to take it, like, I think we just kind of have to wait a little longer or measure what people are really interacting with. So you can just find out like what gets liked a lot or what time's the best to post it. I think it's all just reverse engineering what's already going well. You've already had, I don't know how many members you're on, but there's a lot of members already online right now still. So something's going right.
It's just that thing of like just doing and then iterating, right? Like iterate. So
lean startup, baby.
Just like everything
Yeah,
else.
let's go.
Just like everything
Yeah, I mean, it's always like a lot harder and a lot simpler. It's simple is hard. Like, I was just re-listening to the first podcast I ever did was yesterday 1 year ago with Fayez, and that I released. And he talked about like, usually the answer is really simple, but it's also really hard. Like, if you want to get fit, eat right and work out. Like, that's it. Like, eat
Simple.
right and go for a run like every day. Yeah. Like, simple, but it's not easy. Right. And I think like that's the same thing with here. Is just like the answer is simple, where be consistent, get people involved, find out what they like, reach out, continuously iterate, but like that's also not easy to do like over the long run. So it's been eye-opening, and again, I thank you guys for hopping on. I'm gonna actually end the recording and we can just chat offline, but I'll end it right now. Again, thank you guys, and I'm interested to see how this comes out on the Zoom, because this is the first time that I've ever done one of these things. So thanks for taking a chance on me on a Friday.
Yep.
Get yourself out of the closet.